By the way, this is Chuck Mueller. I forget to introduce you but I know some people on live streaming, they don't know who anybody is. But I met Chuck back in Washington State many years ago, back when we moved there. I guess it was in '93. And we both left on the same day. We moved here to Minneapolis. Chuck moved to Arizona. And it was all on the same day. And so we've sort of been connected in many ways over the years as well. So anyway, it's Chuck.
I've known Stephen a long time, and I've been a Christian a long time, and I got to thinking about the fact that I've been a Christian for 40 years. Became a Christian in 1976, and met my wife shortly after I became a Christian. And when I met her, Father said, either marry her or leave her alone. And so I married her. And so we're still married, and she's a wonderful lady. Anyway, I get lots of revelation, and sometimes I send out emails to people and things. And at Passover this spring, I had some revelation about some things. And I was actually looking out at the conference at Passover, and Father said, "This is my body which is broken." And I felt that at some point through the year, most everybody, at Passover was going to experience some brokenness in their lives. And then I had a vision at the time, and I saw in a vision our bodies with big hunks taken out of them. And I thought, wow, this is really odd. And then God said, watch this. And he used the sections that were missing in our bodies and tied them together with other people. And we became all interconnected like a big puzzle. And I thought, wow, how odd, and so he's really been telling me all year. He says, wait. And the last couple of months he's been telling me, make sure you cut off all the loose ends. Make sure you get all the loose ends tied up. And so I haven't written about all the things that God has shown me because it wasn't time, because everything he's been telling me has to do with the kingdom. And I really hadn't heard anybody else write about the kingdom, and so I haven't written any emails. But last night I was praying, and I went up to bed, and I said, okay, Father, I said, what's all this about? I said, I've been Christian 40 years, and I said, I still don't have any answers as to what's in front of us. And he says, don't you know? He says, you've been a Christian 40 years, and he says, you weren't created for Pentecost. You're created for Tabernacles. You have no calling in Pentecost. And I went, wow. So then I had 3 dreams, and in the dreams, one of them had to do with giving somebody money, which God always does that to me. He says, here, give that money away. 30 years ago, he said, oh, you're going to have a money ministry. Well, I've never had 2 nickels rubbed together, so apparently it's working, because I just keep giving it all away, So that all worked out this morning. And then the second dream, my wife and I were sitting in a car. She was in the front seat in the passenger side. Jesus is driving the car. I'm in the back seat behind Jesus. And he starts driving down the road, and he keeps driving faster and faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden, we crash into a house. Him and I both jump out. And I say, 911, 911, 911, 911, 911, 5 times. And then I look in the car, and I see my wife is still sitting in the front seat, and her hair's all kind of disheveled. And I say, are you all right? And she goes, yes. And that was the dream. That was one of the dreams. And so we're all, then the third dream was really, it was overwhelming. I mean, it was kind of like 40 years of walking with Christ and seeing that, here we are. We've all been prepared, all these years. We've prayed and asked God, why aren't we doing ministry? Why are we not, we're just biding our time, if you will. It just seems like, we've done little bits and pieces for God here and there, but we've really not really ever had any big ministries. And really, that's what this is all about. You have all been prepared for Tabernacles. And Father told me, he says, in the dream, he said, look, he said, there's many Pentecostal callings that, people who've been called in Pentecost, many of them won't make it into Tabernacles because they have no vision for it. But because you have a vision for Tabernacles, you get to come in. So, rejoice in that, that you all have a vision for Tabernacles. Isn't that amazing? So I just want to say that I'll probably be writing some emails now about some of the work that lies ahead. But what was interesting, I had one of the dreams, I kind of digress. I'll go back to Passover again. I had a dream after I got came home from Passover. And Father showed us, here we were, and it had to do with 288,000 rather than the 144,000. And I always kind of thought, okay, who are the 100 I know the 144,000, but who are the other 144,000? So in the dream, I'm dressed in like tennis shorts, and I got a polo on with a blue collar, and all my teammates are dressed the same way. And we're on a soccer field, and there's this blue, looked like a football, and it's bouncing down the field, and the field is the whole earth, okay? And we move from place to place. Some team members come on, some leave, and others come in. But there's the whole world is our field of play, and there are our enemy or our opponents, if you will, are not dressed in the white tennis shorts in the white polos with the blue collar. They have all kinds of different garb on, and socks with stripes on them, and different things. And what was interesting is they couldn't pick up the blue ball. And the idea was to pick up the blue ball. And once we picked it up, and I felt that it had to do with wisdom. And when we were able to pick up the blue ball, then we were able to take actually a red, like a dodgeball. Remember, did you play dodgeball as kids in school? These real soft rubber ball. And we would throw the ball and hit them in the head, which didn't hurt them at all. But it knocked them out of the game. It didn't hurt them, but they were taken out of the game and no longer able to play. And so when we got rid of all of our opponents, we would move on to the next playing field. And so the other 144,000 were on the sidelines, all dressed the same way, and they were cheering us on. And so last night in the dream, I'm going, oh my God, this is my wife, who was on the sidelines. I saw her there, and she was cheering me on as I was running down the field. And I saw Ron Oja there, and he was quite adept at throwing the dodgeball, I have to tell you. He was a real good guy there. But, and I said, so Father reminded me in my dream last night, he says, remember back in the 80s when you were preaching in these missions and stuff in Seattle? And I said, yeah. And he said, remember when your wife would sit behind you and pray fervently while you would get up there and preach? And I go, yeah. And he says, that's the kingdom. That's Tabernacles. He said, the things that you did when you walked up there, I would walk up to the pulpit, and there'd be 200 street people up here and in front of me, and I'd go blank. And I'd just open the Bible and then start talking. And then 20 minutes later, I would go, oh, where am I? And the people would be weeping, and they'd say, and I go, what did I do? And my wife would say, oh, it was awesome, and I go, I don't remember a thing. And so, but then here was the kicker. God says, look, he says, you have a vision for Tabernacles. This was in the 80s. And he said, I want you to stop preaching because it's not for this time. And he says that the problem here is that you're going to rip off their blindfold, and I'm not ready for that yet. And so here we are, and he said, look, he says, the realm of the kingdom of Tabernacles has to do with agreement. And he says, the agreement that you had when your wife was there praying fervently for you as you were preaching, he said, that's the kingdom. It's the agreement, the oneness that we all have to share. And the body, as it comes together in oneness, we will be able to do those kinds of things effortlessly. We just open our mouth and allow the Spirit to speak through us. It's not work. It's like taking a vacation. See? So anyway, rejoice. This is good news. See? And I wanted to tell you one more thing. The thing about driving in the car, it got faster and faster and faster as we crashed into the house. God's saying, we're close. And he's speeding up the end, so we're almost there. Well, almost there. Almost there. All right. All right. Thank you.